And with that, welcome to this very special video on my channel. At least for me, it's very special and very dear to my heart, because most of you will probably be familiar with that title, with a thumbnail, with everything, because this was the first series I ever did on this channel. The first series I started, the first series I finished, and the first time I ever wrote BokuAkaKuroKen. And honestly, it's so nostalgic to think about it, because this is now exactly 1 year ago. And to celebrate that anniversary, I give you here a supercut of the entire series. I hope you will like it. Enjoy!
Kenma's eyes were focused on the two monitors in front of him. His hands moved quickly over the keyboard as a reaction to the rush of colors flickering on the screen. He had been streaming for almost 5 hours and played games for 7. It was a calm Saturday, and normally it wouldn't have been so long. His boyfriends got concerned when he played for over 4 hours because he usually forgot to eat in the meantime. They did their best to check up on him, yet they couldn't do that if he was streaming. Today was a little different though. It was Saturday, which meant they would usually do something together for at least half of the day or have a movie night. However, this Saturday, all of his boyfriends decided they had suddenly something better to do. Kuro had to study for some stupid exam and went to the internet cafe down the street. Akashi accompanied him to work on his final assignment this semester, and Bokuto was scheduled for a training match. Kenma was on edge ever since he realized that none of them would be here as expected. The problem wasn't that he couldn't be alone in general, quite the opposite actually. The problem was that none of them told him beforehand, that he expected them to be there and instead found the house empty. He remembered that Ko tried to wake him up once this morning, but not what he said. It had been too early. Perhaps he tried to say goodbye. It didn't really help though. He walked downstairs a few hours later, expected to be greeted by at least one of his boyfriends, only to find 3 notes. The first one from Akashi on a little box in the kitchen. "Good morning, love. I hope you slept well and have a good day. Kuro and I are going to the internet cafe to study a little. I made you breakfast. In love, Akashi." He put the food in the fridge without even looking at it. Bokuto's note was placed on the coffee table, next to multiple crumpled sheets of paper. Hey, Ken. I have to go to a training match. I love you. I love you a lot, and I'm going to be home as soon as possible. And last but not least, Kuro's note on his PC. Don't play for too long. I love you, kitten. Kuro. He threw the paper away and started the first game. It wasn't just sulking. The unexpected absence of his beloveds made him nervous. He distracted himself with games until 5 p.m. when Kuro and Akashi came back. He heard the door close downstairs, something he had been waiting for all day, but instead of pausing his game and greeting them, he started a live stream, effectively locking his 2 boyfriends out of the room. Why should he be the only one waiting? Somewhere between 6 and 7, Bokuto came home and almost ran straight in, but Kuro stopped him. Kenma felt a little bad after he heard the soft whining from the older. He lost the round shortly after, and the frustration reminded him that he was rightfully mad at them. He was aware that it was childish, but he didn't care at this point. It was around 11 p.m. that he considered ending the stream. Maybe his boyfriends would be in bed already and he could avoid the consequences for another day. He decided on one last game and maybe a few side quests, so that he could drag the time to be a little after midnight when he'd finally leave the room. It was mid-game when his vision suddenly started to blur. The colors seemed smudged and he couldn't recognize the shapes anymore. His fingers stopped, hovering over the keys as he tried to decipher the pictures on the screen, completely frozen in place. Did he need glasses like Kichi? His mind wandered off and he rubbed his eyes to clear his vision. There was only one word on the monitor. Defeated. What the... He muttered the words, trying to make sense of the situation. The chat buzzed with messages, and even though that was normal, it suddenly got too much. Tears started forming in his eyes, and he heard the ringtone from his phone blending in with the rest. Sorry. He quickly ended the stream and all of his games until he was left with black screens. Kenma? 3 pairs of footsteps started walking, or rather running, towards the door. No. It was nothing but a broken whisper, and he was sure none of them heard him. He couldn't face them yet. Not yet. He wanted to be angry for a little longer. Didn't want them to see how stupid he was, how easily irritated, how fragile. He would break down if they would see him now. He tried to push himself up from the chair, but it was as if his body didn't belong to him. Only after he heard a soft knock on the door, followed by Akashi's warm voice, was he able to move. Hey, Kenma? Love, are you okay? Akashi, Bokuto, and Kuro looked concerned at each other and back at the door. They were about to enter when they heard Kenma getting up, taking a few steps, then thud. Immediately the door swung open, Kuro being the first one to rush inside and towards the limp body on the floor. Kenma! Ken! Hey, Kenma? Akashi stood frozen in the doorframe as he tried to make sense of the scene in front of him. Kuro lifted Kenma's body slightly and checked his breathing. Relief washed over all 3 of them when they acknowledged the quiet breaths. Still. What's wrong with him? Is he okay? Is he going to die? Akashi saw Bokuto panicking, and even though he knew that the ace was overreacting, shock and horror ran through his system at the thought of Kenma dying. No one is going to die, he said in an attempt to soothe the tension and calm both Bokuto and himself. Yes, everything is going to be alright. Kuro smiled at both of them. It was genuine, not quite reaching his eyes, but genuine. How can you be so chill about this? Bokuto was freaking out again. This time, Akashi had no idea what to say, especially since he asked just what he himself was thinking. Because I've been with our little kitten for a little longer than you two, not just as his lover, but as his friend as well. He lovingly caressed Kenma's cheek and put a strand of hair behind his ear. So? Kuro lifted the unconscious Kenma bridal style and placed the younger's head against his chest. Careful! Do you really think it's a good idea to just lift him up? What if he hit his head and that's why he fainted? Alright, should we bring him to the hospital? But how, if we can't lift him up? I'll call an ambulance. Stop, Ko, it's fine. Let's all calm down, okay? Bokuto was about to argue, but he was stopped by Akashi, who gently placed a hand on his. Okay, explain, why do you think it's not necessary to get him to a doctor? They followed Kuro downstairs while he answered. Well, it's not exactly the first time this happened. When he was a child, and especially in his teenage years, it was an almost monthly to weekly occasion. I was quite terrified at first. This didn't really calm the others. Bokuto clenched Akashi's hand tightly, and the younger returned the favor. Why? Is he sick or something? He sounded so worried and heartbroken that Kuro looked at him shocked, only now realizing how his words were perceived. A few tears gathered in the silver-haired's eyes. Oh my god, no! No, Kataro, that's not what I meant. He's fine, I swear. Kuro added quickly and walked over to his boyfriend. He cupped his cheeks and wiped the tears away that started to fall. All I was saying is that Kenma never really got the hang of looking after himself when it comes to stuff like regular meals. He gets so caught up in his games that he doesn't even notice time passing by, and sometimes when he gets up too quickly, he faints. It didn't happen recently because we all made an effort to look out for him. Bokuto nodded, taking a deep breath before pulling the other into a tight hug. hiding his face against Kuro's shoulder, one arm wrapped around the other man while he still held Akashi's hand with the other. Kuro held him and gave soothing strokes across his back. "Are you sure?" Kuro looked him dead in the eyes. 100%. But if he doesn't wake up within the next 10 minutes, we'll get him to a hospital. Akashi nodded, satisfied with the answer, while Bokuto tightened the hug. The black-hatted gave the ace's hand a last reassuring squeeze before moving over to the couch where Kuro placed Kenma. "Hey, love." He softly rubbed his thumb over the smallest cheeks and took the setter's hand in his. Bokuto watched them over Kuro's shoulder and left the hug after a minute to also kneel beside Kenma. "I'm gonna get a glass of water for him. Most likely he forgot to drink some." Kuro's words were quiet and he slowly and a little shaken walked towards the kitchen. Akashi could see that this whole event bothered him more than he was willing to admit. Kuro played strong for all of them, and that was something Akashi was forever grateful for. "Kaotoro, can you look after Kenma? I'm going to look for a snack to get his blood sugar back on track." Bokuto nodded and Akashi followed Kuro in the kitchen. He looked at the rigid finger leaning over the kitchen sink, even though the glass next to him was already filled with water. "Tetsu?" "Huh? Are you alright?" "Yeah, just a bit shaken, I guess." Akashi nodded and walked up to the fridge. "It's not something you get used to, you know? Seeing him like that, unconscious and unresponsive." "Yeah, but it's like you said, he's going to be fine." I know. Kuro sighed. "How is it that we are more freaked out than Ko?" Akashi tried to lighten the mood, and it worked. A little chuckle escaped Kuro's throat, and his expression lightened a little. "I don't know." "Kuro, when was the last time you saw Kenma eat something?" "Yesterday, I think. I brought him dinner upstairs." "Yeah, but did you see him eat it?" No, it was late. Kenma was still playing games and I wanted to go to bed, so I just placed it beside him." "Why though?" "I thought you made him breakfast this morning." Akashi didn't answer and just put two things from the fridge on the kitchen counter. A plate with yesterday's leftovers and the bento box he prepared for Kenma this morning. Kuro's eyes widened and he sprinted towards the living room, Akashi following not far behind. "Has Kenma waken up yet?" "What?" "Has Kenma..." Kuro interrupted himself as he saw the smaller man lifting his head to look at him. "Kenma!" He ran towards his boyfriend and pulled him into a bone-crushing hug. "Kuro, no need to yell like that." Kenma stiffened before relaxing against the older, only to be pushed away again. "Huh?" "Sorry, I just thought you might have fainted again." "Oh." They sat in silence for a few seconds. Guilt overcame the blonde as he looked at each of his boyfriend individually. Seeing Bokuto and Kuro seriously worried hurt, but not as much as Akashi. The other said there was no one who wore his heart on his sleeve, and most of the time it was pretty hard to know what he thought or felt. Right now, however, his fear and worry was so unmistakably displayed in his expression that Kenma couldn't bear to look at it for too long. He lowered his head and felt new tears starting to form. But before he could say anything, Bokuto's loud voice interrupted the silence. "My turn!" He pulled Kenma in a bear hug, much more gentle than expected. Usually, his hugs were full of energy and maybe a little too passionate, not that any of them would ever complain. Now, even though he opened his arms in the same rapid and wild motion, he wrapped them around the younger so careful, as if he was made from glass, as if he was fragile. Without another word, Kenma grabbed his throat and held on tightly, burying his face in the tallest chest in an attempt to hide his tears and the embarrassed blush on his face from his partners. "Hey kitten, it's going to be okay." He gave the setter a few soothing pats on the back before opening his arms wider to invite the other two into the hug. Kuro, who was still only a few inches away from them, immediately accepted and hugged Kenma from behind, practically forming a protective circle around the younger. Akashi took a few long steps before entering the hug from the side, wrapping one arm around Kuro and the other around Kenma while acknowledging the weight of Bokuto's arms on his shoulder. Soft sobs emerged from their core, and instantly everyone got a bit closer, always on the lookout for any sign that this gesture was unwelcome. But instead of pushing them away, Kenma mirrored their action. One of his hands found Kuro, while the other still held onto Bokuto's shirt. They sat like that for a moment, exchanging soothing words, soft whispers, and tender promises. Little, loving gestures were displayed, and terms of endearment found their way into silent hums. It was Akashi who first noticed that the problem at hand wasn't solved, and that for once, cuddling wasn't the solution. He carefully retreated from the hug and attempted to get up, but before he could leave to get the necessary items, a small hand wrapped itself around his wrist. The grip only lasted for a couple of seconds before loosening shortly after, and Kashi saw Kenma just in time to prevent him from falling down the couch, just like Bokuto, who reacted by grabbing onto the back of Kenma's shirt. Kuro jumped up to make space for Kenma. "Sorry. I got up too fast." Everyone tried to focus on getting their hearts back to beat at a normal pace. "Damn it, Kenma. I swear to God, one day you're going to be the death of me." He chuckled and smiled slightly at the other, who blushed but didn't dare to look him in the eyes. "Sorry." "Katoro, could you get the pillow over there and put it under his feet to lift him up a little?" "Yes." "And Kuro, stay next to his head, would you? Keep an eye on him in case he faints again or tries to get up, which he's not allowed to, by the way." "Alright." They both followed the given orders, and Akashi hesitated for a second, expecting the other setter to protest, but he heard nothing but a small groan when Bokuto forced him to move so that he could position the pillow correctly. The tension stayed. Akashi wanted to finally get the food and water for Kenma so that all of them could relax a little, but was stopped by the person in question. "Kashi?" "Yes, love?" He answered, a little confused as to why Kenma would use his last name, a short version of it, but still. Looking back at him, he was met with questioning eyes but no words. There was no need for it. "I'm just going to get you something to eat and drink. You needed to get better, and we needed to ease our worry." His smile faded a little. After the words were spoken, silence spread through the room, and Kenma turned his gaze back towards the ceiling, away from Akashi. A somewhat guilty expression took over the confusion. After Akashi handed Kenma the snacks, he ate them without complaints, to everyone's surprise. "Kenma, why didn't you eat the breakfast Kichi prepared for you? Or the meal I brought you yesterday?" There was no anger in their voices, no accusations or anything alike, just worry and honest concern. Sorry. Stop apologizing. We don't blame you. We just want to understand so that we can help. I guess I just forgot. Oh, Ken. You can't forget to eat. You need food. I know. Kenma's gaze was focused on the ground. You don't usually forget though. They all looked at Kuro as if they wanted to ask, are you serious? I mean, I get yesterday, with you being focused on your game and all, but why this morning? Why are you surprised? I guess I just never got the hang of looking after myself. Bitterness filled Kenma's voice way more than he intended, but he couldn't help but feel hurt when he heard how the others perceived him. Like a burden, like someone fragile, someone who cannot look after himself, someone dependent, someone who needs to be cared for. What? No, that's not what I meant. But isn't it true though? You do so much for me. It's like I depend completely on you. Like I can't even manage to eat for myself and get totally freaked out if you aren't here as expected and I... His body was shaking and it took him a moment to realize that it was shaken by sobs. Cries that got louder by the minute. I'm such a burden to all of you. What? No, you're not. Kenma, you're not a burden to any one of us. And you're very independent on normal days. Today is just a bad example. Besides, it's okay to depend on your partners from time to time. We all support each other in our own ways. That's perfectly normal, especially after living together for a while, and not at all problematic if it's within a reasonable level. Exactly. Was that why you forgot to eat? Because we weren't home as anticipated? Kenma nodded. Oh my god, we're sorry, kitten. We totally forgot to tell you. Why are you saying this like it is your fault? I should be capable of caring for myself. I'm a grown adult, just like you. You should not have to worry every time you have to leave the house. We don't. We don't worry because we don't have to. You are just as capable as every one of us. We all get irritated sometimes, which throws us off and we forget about important things like food or telling your boyfriend that you won't be here this weekend. But I get irritated so easily. And that's okay. Everyone has different needs. I mean, take Haruto for example. Some might consider it silly that he needs so many hugs and reassurance as a sign of affection, but do you? No. Exactly. And we don't think your needs are silly either. Exactly. They stood in front of their beloved, a little uneasy and nervous as they waited for Kenma's reaction. Kenma, on the other hand, still only focused on observing the floor beneath him. Yet, after a couple more seconds of heavy silence and Bokuto getting more and more agitated, he simply lifted his arms in their direction, not looking up, but silently asking for a hug. Oh, Ken. They gladly accepted, with Bokuto being the first one to reach the blonde, followed by Akashi and Kuro, who caused them all to fall over on the couch. Kenma laughed at that, and the others were quick to join. It had been 4 days. 4 days since the incident. 4 days since Kenma almost fainted while streaming, only to pass out shortly after. Twice. 4 days since he almost gave all 3 of his boyfriends a heart attack. At first he assumed that at least Kuro wouldn't be as affected. However, one look at the older proved him wrong. Kuro's eyes reflected his worry and anxiety, mixed with frustration and resignation. He had known Kenma for years and watched him neglect his health over and over again. Kenma? Kuro sat down on the couch beside the former setter. The younger hadn't left his position since Kuro placed him there when he was still unconscious. He didn't dare to move after almost fainting again as he attempted to hold on to Akashi. The shock had been painfully evident on the others' faces. It was something he much rather didn't want to see again. Even now, his eyes were only focused on the floor beneath him. Kuro sighed. Ko and Keiji already went upstairs. I doubt they're sleeping though. It took quite a while to convince them. I told them we'd be there in a second. I'm quite hurt actually. Seems like they don't trust me to look after you. He tried to lighten the mood. Yet, Kenma didn't find the energy to appreciate it. Even though I have been doing that for years, haven't I? You have. The older nodded slowly. Did I mean, was that wrong? Kenma's eyes widened, and he couldn't stop himself from looking at his beloved. The pain was evident in his voice. Not just in his voice. Kuro, just like Kenma, looked at the ground, a hurt expression on his face. What? A mistake? Wrong? What was that supposed to mean? Was it wrong for Kuro to care for him? Did he give up on him? Didn't he want to do that anymore? Was it too much? Was he too much of a burden to bear? And if Kuro thought that way, what about Keiji and Kaotaro? Would they leave him? But they said it was okay, didn't they? Would they stay even though it hurt them? How could it be okay for them to stay if it hurt them? How could he do this to them? Why was he such a burden? Kenma? Kenma! He repeated himself more firmly and held the smaller by his shoulders. Hey, it's okay. It's okay, I'm here. I'll always be. Kuro took one of Kenma's hands in his, while cupping his cheek. His fingers gently caressed his face and wiped the tears that started to fall. Kenma didn't even notice. His mind was flooded with intrusive thoughts to a point where Kuro's calming words had little to no effect on him. He was a burden. He hurt his beloveds. Kenma. All firmness and confidence were gone from his tone. His words were quiet and he sounded close to breaking. Carefully, Kuro lifted Kenma's chin to make the younger look at him. Kenma let him. He immediately regretted his decision upon seeing the tears glistering in his boyfriend's eyes. Yet he couldn't look away. Please don't neglect yourself and your health like that. I can't bear to see you like that. Not again. Not like this. Kenma's breath hitched. I thought it got better. You didn't faint since... Damn it! Kuro leaned against Kenma for support and buried his face against his neck. It's different now. Before, you just shrugged it off, but now... He took a deep breath. Kenma, you can't beat yourself up over things like this. We know that you struggle sometimes, and we'll help you. Just please don't think we might leave. Don't. I know it's easier said than done, but please don't think bad about yourself. Kenma stared with wide eyes at the wall behind them and held on to Kuro by grabbing his shirt tightly. I can help you with routines, regular meals and stuff. If you get sick or something, I know what to do and how to help you, but when you do that, I just feel so helpless. Kuro. No, Kuro, it's okay. Kenma's words were shaky and unsure. He was bad at comforting people and it made him very nervous. With as much confidence as he could manage, he continued. I'm okay now. Lie. I'll be okay. Lie. You don't have to look out for me. Lie. I need you, Kuro. Please stay. Please look out for me. No! Kenma flinched. Sorry, I want to. We want to. Kenma, we got this together, okay? Okay. Let's go to bed. Kenma nodded. He was about to get up when Kuro lifted him in his arms and carried the smaller to their shared bedroom, where Bokuto and Akashi were waiting. He almost flinched again upon seeing Bokuto's worried face and the short flash of panic, as if he thought the younger might have fainted again. Kuro saw it as well and was quick to calm the other. Don't worry, we are all right. He placed Kenma carefully on the mattress, who immediately started to crawl towards his usual spot and underneath the blankets. Bokuto flopped down beside him. Everybody snuggled closer and went to sleep. At least they tried. Kenma, however, could feel Bokuto staring at him. Cool? He sighed and forced a small smile. I'm going to be okay. Lie. I am okay. Lie. Bokuto nodded and gently put a strand of hair behind his ear. Kenma watched his expression turning relaxed. He looked so peaceful in his sleep. The sound of the regular and calm breathing of his boyfriends filled the room. All of them were quick to escape today's stress by falling asleep. All but Kenma. He couldn't, even with the amount of exhaustion coursing through his body and mind. Up until today, he never truly realized how much he depended on the others, and even worse, how much of a burden that made him. He lied to them, even though he usually never would. They shouldn't worry about him. He could manage things himself. No matter how much he might struggle, he'd have to learn to care for himself, and he'd do so without burdening the others. He'd smile and be strong for them. Ever since the incident, Kenma tried to be more independent. He stood up early and attempted to make himself food. It worked for a while. The first 3 days he only ever forgot dinner once, and back then Kuro was there to help him out. He felt guilty for relying on him again and just wordlessly accepted the offer. Under no circumstances should Kuro think that he neglected his health again. Every worried glance, every little question, and every offer of help only motivated Kenma to do better. He wanted to be stronger, he wanted to be independent, and he wanted to be reliable, so that none of his beloveds would ever have to worry again. Today, however, everything went wrong. He woke up, way too late and not on his own. He was shocked and angry when Bokuto woke him up around 11 a.m. His mood only worsened when he found out that the older skipped training today to stay with him. Why would you do that? What? Why did you stay home? That was completely unnecessary. I already told you. I just wanted to spend some time with you, that's all. My shoulder hurts a little anyways, and coach said it was fine if... He heard Bokuto sigh, could see how his expression changed. If you weren't feeling so good. He dragged the words as if he forced them out. I'm fine. Kenma. What is... I said I'm fine. Kenma was now straight up yelling and left for his gaming room. At first, he thought about playing some games for a little while, or maybe streaming, but the memories of the last time still haunted him. He left the PC and the gaming consoles untouched and just settled for responding to some comments. Oh my god, what's with Kolome? He looked totally sick. Get better soon? Jeez, so dramatic. You can't end the stream like that. What in hell is going on? Unfollow. Too good to say goodbye, huh? Kenma, are you okay? Why would he even stream when he's sick? How pathetic. Whoever his mysterious partner is, he deserves much better. Kenma is such a wreck. Kenma stared at the screen. Each of these comments, even those wishing him luck and to get better, only worsened the current state he was in. Everybody had noticed. Not just his boyfriends, but everybody. They all knew how pathetic he was. It was the last comment that really got him. His relationship with Kuro, Akashi and Bokuto wasn't public, but there were always a lot of speculations. Recently, more than ever, since Akashi accidentally had walked in on him streaming. Akashi out of all people. Not that Kenma would be mad about it for long. It was an honest mistake after all. The consequence was a never-ending stream of rumors. Normally, he would never let these comments get to him. He usually ignored hate comments in general, but today he couldn't. This one hit exactly where it hurts. When Akashi and Kuro came home, occasionally their classes would end around the same time and they'd work together, the first thing they saw was Bokuto. To be more precise, a blanket pile covering the ace. Hey, Kataro, are you okay? The blanket pile moved a little in what Akashi assumed to be a nod. Akashi took his and Kuro's backpack, while the older slowly approached the blankets. He gently lifted them so he could see the other's face. Kataro, what happened? Bokuto sighed. Nothing. Ko, it's not nothing. Please don't lie to us about this. Bokuto just looked down and tried hugging the blankets closer, but Kuro took them before he could. Ko? Now it was Kuro's turn to sigh. Is this about Kenma? Akashi kneeled in front of Bokuto. He threw a quick glance at Kuro as he mentioned their boyfriend. Bokuto nodded slowly. Could you explain, please? The concern was evident in Akashi's voice. He yelled at me after I woke him up this morning. Because he had a nightmare? No. Then why? I don't know. He got mad after I told him that I skipped training to be there for him. Your coach approved, though. It wasn't a question. Akashi knew Bokuto wouldn't lie to them. Again, the taller nodded. I just didn't want to irritate him again. We know. Kuro sat next to Bokuto and gently pulled him to his side. It's okay. You did the right thing. He put in an effort to reassure him. They all did. Normally. The three of them knew that Bokuto struggled sometimes with his actions. He wasn't as good as most people when it came to impulse control, and was simply told one too many times before that he acted childishly or that he was too loud. For him, it meant that his emotions, his passions and actions were too much for others. The things he felt so great about and how he wanted to share them, the only way he knew how to share them with others, was labeled as annoying and over the top. And it made the ace feel bad for his behavior and made him doubt the things he loved. Akashi, Kuro and Kenma had ever since they knew each other witnessed multiple attempts from Bokuto to try and force himself to change, to be quieter and less impulsive. However, he failed over and over again. And even though the three of them were more than glad about it, glad that he never actually changed, they loved him the way he was, it was still hard watching him. Ko, he is right. You looked out for him, and that was great. Kuro and I would have been way more concerned if you didn't stay with him. Yes. Bokuto hummed in what sounded almost like agreement, and Akashi smiled in response. I'll go and talk to Kenma. Maybe he just got irritated by something in his dreams. He shouldn't have yelled at you, though. It's okay. You don't have to. It's not okay, Bokuto. The other flinched a little at his harsh answer, and especially the use of his last name. Kuro only ever did that when he was really angry. Fuck. I'm sorry, Ko. I'm really worried about Kenma. It's freaking me out. Bokuto nodded slowly, while Akashi carefully took his and Kuro's hand in his own. None of them really knew what to say. They all knew that all of them worried about their boyfriend, but not what to do about it. I just meant that he already apologized. They all sat in silence for a while, each of them lost in their own thoughts, all concerning their loved one. Did he eat? I mean, since he got irritated. No, I mean, yes, he ate, despite being irritated. That's when he apologized. Okay, good. He didn't look me in the eyes though, and he wouldn't let me touch him the whole day. Akashi frowned and got closer to hug Bokuto as well. Kuro, on the other hand, slowly got up as soon as Kashi's arms wrapped around the ace. I'm going to check on him. They nodded and watched him go upstairs. The minutes passed, and when Kuro came back down, Bokuto had his face buried in Akashi's neck. He looked tired, exhausted even. Ko? Akashi patted his back in gentle strokes. You should go to bed. It's okay. Akashi and I are just going to eat a little snack ourselves, and then follow right behind.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to be hypocrites, right?
Bokuto chuckled lightly. No, I want to stay with you. He whined.
Now, Kuro chuckled. He was glad to see Bokuto a little more light-hearted again, more like himself. Come on, Ko. You're basically already asleep. Do you really think one of us would be able to carry you upstairs if you fell asleep on the sofa now? I could. You could carry yourself?
Kuro raised an eyebrow and Bokuto gave him a puzzled look as his sleep-deprived brain attempted to comprehend the words.
Yes.
Kuro couldn't help but laugh. Hey, don't laugh at me. I'm stronger than you.
Bokuto pouted. It was the cutest thing ever, along with a sulking Kenma and Akashi in skirts.
Kuro closed the distance between them and brought their lips together in a tender kiss.
I know you are. Not that he would ever admit that in any other situation. But if you wanted to stay that way, you need to rest.
But...
And?
Kenma is currently alone in bed. He needs someone to cuddle and warm him.
Bokuto's eyes widened at the realization and seemed to sparkle at the idea of finally being able to hug Kenma before his expression darkened again.
Are you sure he'd want that?
Kuro sighed. Seeing Bokuto hurt himself as well. Even more since he was not yet sure how to solve the problem, and because he understood him very well on this. Only one way to find out. Ask. But if it helps you, I'm fairly certain he wouldn't mind. Actually, I think he needs you right now.
Why me?
Because he knows that you won't interrogate him or try to analyze his behavior and health like Kuro and I would. Is that bad? But I care, and... Ko, we know. And it's not bad. He doesn't need someone overthinking everything right now. Akashi raised an eyebrow at him. I mean, he doesn't need someone that would judge him. Not that we... Tetsuro, it's okay. We understand. He gave another short nod towards Bokuto, who quickly as he could, considering he was tired beyond words and exhausted from stressing about Kenma's behavior the whole day, scrambled to his feet and towards their bedroom. Hungry? Akashi sighed. Not really. Despite his words, he sat down at the dinner table while Kuro placed a plate with onigiri and a cup of tea in front of him. Sorry, just something simple for tonight. That's fine. Besides, onigiri is my favorite. Right. He sat beside the other and slowly started to eat, but ended up more or less just picking at his food. Hey, it's going to be alright. He gently placed a hand on Kuro's, who had subconsciously started to pick his onigiri apart. You sure about that? Akashi almost dropped his food. His eyes widened and he froze mid-movement. What? Why was he even saying? Whenever something concerned Kenma, Kuro, who undoubtedly knew him best, was always the one to calm everybody down and ensure them that it was nothing serious. He was always so optimistic about this kind of thing. So why this? Why now? You said we should give him some time to just
be there for him, not to interrogate him or force him to talk, that he would get better eventually.
I know what I said.
But it's been 4 days. Damn, he even yelled at Bokuto. He took a deep breath to calm himself. If I'm being perfectly honest, going into this relationship, this was something I was a little concerned about. Akashi looked at him questioningly. Not this specific situation, just Bokuto being sometimes a bit too much for Kenma. You know he doesn't handle sudden noises, especially loud ones or feelings, well. Akashi hummed in agreement. Yeah, I was a little worried about that too.
Exactly.
But it was never really a problem. Everything turned out much better than expected, with much fewer complications on the way than anticipated, right? Akashi nodded. So why now? What changed? Akashi frowned, both at Kuro's desperate tone and his own confusion. I thought you said it happened before. Not like this. Kenma always just shrugged it off. The only thing that seemed to bother him about it was that it didn't feel good to faint, and yet still not bad enough to put a lot of effort into avoiding it. He chuckled a little. I got pretty mad at him back then. I just couldn't understand how he could care so little about something that scared the living shit out of me. For me, he tried a little more, and I learned that it truly wasn't as bad. Who would have ever guessed that it's even worse when he cares too much? You think that's it? He cares too much? I'm not 100% certain, but yes, it's a possibility. You heard what he said, right? About being a burden? Akashi nodded. He didn't let any of us carry him these past days, and made himself food for most of the time. I'm just not sure what to do. Me neither. I'm sorry. Kuro finally looked up, only now acknowledging that Kashi had stopped eating as well. He stood up and pulled Akashi in his arms. Don't be. We got this. When they arrived upstairs, a sigh of relief escaped both of them. Their two boyfriends laid in bed, close and tightly snuggling into each other's embrace. Are you worried about him? I'm worried about both of them. Yeah, me too. But Akashi went to get some comfortable clothes for him and Kuro from the drawer. Turning around, he was met with Kuro's expectant gaze. But I know that we'll manage, because we always did. No matter if it was Bokuto feeling insecure about his passionate way of expressing himself, or me because of my lack of it. We managed. We have each other, and that's why we manage. No matter what Kenma is going through right now, we'll manage. We'll be there for him, and we'll listen when he's ready. Kuro nodded. He couldn't agree more, and the way Akashi phrased it, he didn't feel the need to add anything. Akashi accomplished what he himself deemed impossible. He calmed him down a bit. They got ready for bed and were quick to snuggle close to their beloveds. Immediately, Bokuto pulled them in a group hug, even while asleep. It made the two overthinkers smile. In this moment, it seemed that everything was okay. Kenma woke up, terrified. The images of his nightmares still imprinted into his brain. His breathing came in rigid, quick pants, and it still felt like he was suffocating. The air felt like acid in his dry throat. It took a couple of minutes for him to realize the three people laying next to him, his boyfriends. For a second he tried to remember when Kuro and Akashi came to bed, but he was quick to put the thought aside. His breathing still had barely calmed down, and he was suddenly very aware of the possibility of waking the others. Quickly, he wiggled himself out of their embrace. Something usually so comforting abruptly became suffocating, and made a run for the bathroom. Luckily, he got very good at escaping a hug without the other person noticing. Years of training when his PS4 was out of reach while Kuro hugged him. But he was still very surprised to see that all three of his beloveds were still asleep. With all of the noise he made when he first woke up, he'd expected at least one of them to wake up as well. However, none of them did, and he was glad about it. Guilt overcame him as soon as his breathing calmed down enough to think rationally again, and he realized they were probably all really exhausted because of him, because they worried about him, and because he yelled at Bokuto. Kenma splashed a bit of cold water in his face to ground himself, and held onto the sink in order to stabilize himself, but it did close to nothing to calm his nerves. His limbs started to shake a little, and when he blindly reached for the faucet, he accidentally knocked a bunch of stuff lying at the side of the sink to the ground. A loud, shattering noise echoed through the room. He looked at the items in shock. His heart beat rapidly in his chest, and it felt as if the air had been knocked out of his lungs. He waited for a bit, listening intensely to any noise arriving from the bedroom, to see if one of his boyfriends had woken up. When nothing happened, he started to slowly pick up the pieces. Deliberately, he placed everything back to its original positions. His hands were trembling. Before he could finish, he noticed that one of these things had been one of these disposable razors mainly used by Kuro. It broke. Bits and pieces of plastic were scattered all over the floor, and while most of the blades were still intact, one fell out, and the other was hanging loosely on the broken device. Kenma couldn't help but stare at the mess and think that he broke something that belonged to Kuro. Sure, it was nothing of value, however, his current state didn't leave room to acknowledge that. Everything that followed was blurred, both literally due to the tears slowly gathering in his eyes and falling to the ground, and mentally due to the emotional distress. All he knew was that he tried, that he wanted to clean the mess that he'd made, that he had started to pick up the fragments, carefully putting them into the trash until he was left with nothing but the loose blade. He stared at it, somehow fascinated. The next thing he knew was a stinging sensation at his left arm, a slight burn and a deep red liquid starting to pour from a small cut and dyeing the hem of his sleeves in the same crimson red. The nausea hit shortly after. He had forgotten that he couldn't see blood. Kuro always helped him whenever he got hurt in this kind of way. Kenma felt himself getting dizzy, and he had to force his body to move towards the sink again. Seeing the red mixing and blending with the water made it worse at first, but the more blood washed away, the easier it got. He quickly grabbed a bandage from one of the cabins and put it around his arm to the best of his abilities. Then he cleaned the rest quickly. The blade was a challenge in itself, but he managed, and even though he hesitated, it ended up in the trash. He was still in shock and panicking about what just happened when he heard steps coming closer. Get it together. If they see you like this, they'll know that there is no point in trying to help you. Kenma? Bokuto yawned. What are you doing out of bed? I just had to go to the toilet. His words were rushed, and he ran straight past Bokuto before the other could ask any more questions. It was just one wrong movement, just a few millimeters too close, and just 1 second too late. Kenma knew that it was stupid, but it took him too long to realize just how high the price for his behavior was. Is he still asleep? Yeah, he worked the whole night. Again. On what? I haven't seen him stream or game in days, which is kinda concerning if I'm being honest. Bokuto hummed in agreement. Don't know for sure, something with a lot of charts. They both threw another worried glance at their boyfriend when suddenly Kenma's alarm went off. Kuro frowned and walked over to put it off, but before he could reach it, Kenma woke up. The moment he understood what the other was doing, the blonde stared daggers at him. Hey kitten. His voice was soft as he reached for Kenma's hair, but the smaller flinched away. Kuro sighed. This had been a frequent occurrence these past days. Kitten, you have slept for what, 4 hours? That's not enough. Go back to sleep. Your work or whatever it is you want to do can wait. I'm fine. Kenma, we are just worried. Then stop. I'm an adult. I can handle things myself. He went to get up and walk out, but Kuro stopped him by holding on to his wrist. Kenma stiffened. Don't touch me. Immediately, Kuro let go of him as if he burned his hand. Kenma stormed off, ignoring Bokuto, who was still staring at him, and the shocked expression on Akashi's face, who stood in the doorframe. He just wanted to check on his boyfriends when he heard the fight between Kenma and Kuro. Hearing that was bad enough in itself, but seeing it hurts. Really hurts. They never fought, not like this. Tetsu. Kuro still stared at his hand while sitting down on the bed, or rather collapsing onto it. He looked helpless, desperate even. Tetsuro? Kuro didn't answer. His eyes were glossy and his fingers started to tremble. Without another word, Bokuto hugged him. No one spoke, even though they all wanted to. Akashi and Bokuto tried to think of something to say that could explain everything, any kind of solution or positive detail that would make things at least a bit better. I just don't know what to do anymore. He is hurting, and I don't know why or how to stop it. Tetsu. I've been with him for so long. I have to help him. I should know how to help him. Bokuto's grip tightened and he buried his face in Kuro's neck. I'm an awful boyfriend. No. His voice was muffled by Kuro's shirt, and the other could feel Bokuto shaking his head ever so slightly. Tetsuro, you are not a bad boyfriend. Not to us, and not to Kenma. This is not your fault. It never was. Why isn't he better by now? If I truly did anything right. Tetsuro, this is not about you. Kenma is not hurting because of you. Even if Kuro didn't accept it, he needed to hear this, and Akashi needed to say it. To his surprise, however, Kuro nodded. What do you suggest we should do? Akashi sighed. I don't know, but we'll figure it out. He was about to join them in a group hug, but before he could get even close, a loud crash echoed from the kitchen. Kenma? Immediately, Kuro tried to get up, almost collapsing in the process, if it wasn't for Bokuto catching him. Now that Akashi thought about it, he looked almost as tired as Kenma, and Bokuto was barely any better. Akashi didn't even want to know what he must look like right now. Ko, look after Tetsuro and take it slow. I will check on Kenma. No, Bokuto gave Akashi a quick nod, who ran off without hesitation towards the kitchen. You can follow in a second, but you can't help Kenma if you fall and hit your head or something. The first thing Akashi saw was Kenma's limp body laying on the cold kitchen tiles. It shocked him, but not as much as the first time. Still, Kuro was right. This was not a sight you get used to. Kenma? He rushed to his side and gently took the gamer's head in his hands. He was about to pick him up and carry him to the couch again when he suddenly felt something wet and warm against his fingertips. His heart felt as if it was about to stop at the sight of the red liquid coating his fingers. Is he okay? Did he faint again? Akashi had to force himself to look up. Koda's voice was the complete opposite of how he felt. He sounded tired, almost calm, while Akashi was panicking. He needed to speak up, to say something, but the words were stuck in his throat. They needed to do something, now! Do something! Should I carry him to the couch? Bokuto and Kuro looked at him confused. Their expressions slowly got more and more concerned as they jumped into the fact that something was more than wrong. The ace reached for Kenma, but... No! What? Call an ambulance! Keiji, I told you, it's normal. Now! But... No! Not this time! Call an ambulance, now! He panicked, his vision blurred with tears. Keiji! Now! Now! Call it now! His breathing quickened and he tried blindly reaching for his phone, gripping onto nothing but air, and exposing the blood on his hand in the process. Kuro's eyes widened and he joined Akashi at Kenma's side in no time. Kenma? His voice was weirdly high-pitched. With trembling hands, he caressed his cheeks and checked his breathing. Should we move him into the recovery position? But his head... Yes, but we have to be careful. Put a hand underneath his head and slowly shift his position. Akashi looked at Bokuto surprised, only to find him on the phone, most likely talking to an emergency operator. He and Kuro immediately complied, checking Kenma's breathing frequently while waiting for the ambulance to arrive. It was just one wrong movement, just a few millimeters too close to the edge and just 1 second late to catch his balance. All he wanted was to be a little bit more independent and a little bit less of a burden. Why was that so hard? Was that too much to ask? A throbbing pain was the first thing Kenma felt as he slowly regained consciousness. Shortly after, mumbled voices slowly made their way into his mind. He has a severe concussion and he's going to be alright, right? Yeah, he just... Nothing serious. Yes. However, he'll have to stay the night, maybe 2. Depends on... Slowly the voices were getting clearer, along with the pain in his head intensifying. Also, the wound on his wrist reopened. It seems like he landed on it. We put new bandages around his hand, the last ones were applied poorly, and it should be alright within a few days. However, he should not put too much pressure on it for a while and let it heal. What wound? Oh no. No, no, no. This can't be happening. Why? You were not aware of his injury? On his wrist? No. A slight hint of anger mixed with the concern in Kuro's tone as a response to the judgment in the doctor's voice. Well, it looks like a small cut. Like I said, it's nothing serious. He could have gotten it anywhere from cooking or gardening. I deem it best if you ask himself when he wakes up, but take it slow. It was simply unfortunate that he fell onto it. Maybe... Okay, I think we got it from here. Thank you for your help. Akashi's voice was friendly but stern. He also had enough of the doctor's patronizing tone and wished more than anything that he would finally leave. To say that this idiot hadn't been thrilled after they corrected him because he wanted to send Kuro and Bokuto away, assuming that Akashi was Kenma's only partner, he arrived with the ambulance, was an understatement. He had given them disapproving glares whenever they got close to each other or offered another comfort, as if they were about to... just because they were in a polyamorous relationship when all they did was hugging. He left and the three got closer to Kenma's bed. The blonde hadn't woken up yet, even though he could sense more of his surroundings with every minute, including the pain in his body. However, the control over his muscles still seemed to be gone. He could feel a warm hand traveling over the inside of his arm to his own hand and gently closing the fingers around it. By the size, he estimated it to be Akashi's. Oh, Kenma. Tender fingers caressed his forehead, but it felt wrong, as if he was wearing a hood or something. A piece of cloth seemed to separate them. Was his head bandaged? Did he actually hit it hard enough to cause an open wound? It sure felt like it. You don't think he... He what? The wound on his arm. You don't think he did it, do you? No. Kenma had hoped so much that they would just forget about that. No. He wouldn't, right? I'm sure he didn't. You heard what the doctor said. It could have happened doing anything. It's just a small cut. Right? Silence. Since when is he wearing the bandage? I didn't even notice. Hey, that's not your fault. Neither of us did. And Kenma, well, Kenma is just really good at hiding stuff sometimes. Bokuto gasped. I think I saw him put it on in the bathroom 2 days ago or so. Why didn't you say anything? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't really notice at first. It was in the middle of the night. I was still half asleep. I think I only now remember at all that I got up that night to check on him because there was this really loud noise that woke me up and... Ko, breathe. Kenma could hear Bokuto's rambling accompanied by quickening pants, but it was almost impossible for him to understand everything through the aching in his head. And before the conversation could proceed any further, the door opened and shut with a noise too loud for Kenma's injured head to bear. He almost flinched and would have run and hid if he was fully lucid. Good evening. A nurse had entered the room and greeted them with a friendly and calm voice. The other three observed him as he prepared a syringe with a translucent liquid. What is that? Kuro asked harsher than intended. The whole situation left him on edge, and the doctor hadn't made it any better in the slightest. The nurse smiled genuinely nevertheless and continued while explaining. Just giving your friend... Oh, excuse me, I mean partner. He quickly corrected himself. Something to give him a good night's sleep. He needs to rest. I thought we are waiting for him to wake up. I know, but his body needs to rest first and heal part of the damage. It also prevents him from being in unnecessary pain. Regardless, he should wake up soon. I reckon everything comes down to tomorrow's exam, and then we just need to go at his own pace. Kenma could feel himself getting heavy again and was almost grateful for the darkness surrounding him, even though that meant postponing meeting his beloveds for a little while longer. He wasn't quite sure if he could face them right now anyway. Bokuta was sitting on one of the chairs in the hallway. After 5 more hours he had fled the hospital room. The constant beeping of the monitor attached to his boyfriend was driving him insane. Of course, in theory, this sound was a good thing. It meant that Kenma was alive, but it also made it seem like he was or had been close to death, which wasn't the case, at least not to his knowledge. Every beep got him more and more agitated until he couldn't bear it anymore. He kept trying to tell himself that this whole situation wasn't as bad as it looked. He tried to remember the doctor's words and hold on to the soothing reassurance of the nurse. Every beep, however, got him out of his mind and into reality. A reality in which his boyfriend was lying pale and bandaged in a hospital bed, monitors attached to his body and needles in his veins. It made him sick. The whole atmosphere, the building, the people, everything about this place made him sick. He hated hospitals. Whenever he was close to one, he became restless and couldn't relax or sleep.
In another life, we would wake up close, stay up late and watch the sky so you could see the snow.
Akashi and Kuro checked up on him a few times, one always staying with Kenma. They never stayed for long, which was fine. He liked the occasional distraction, but since they were just as worried, none of them managed to calm him, and he understood that they needed to be with Kenma right now. When he heard a door open and close, he assumed that it was either one of them or another patient's relative. What he didn't expect was Karasuno's former captain leaving a room close by and looking just as lost as him. Sawamura? Huh? Oh, Bokuto-kun. Nice to see you here. No, that sounds so wrong. Sorry. Don't worry. Why are you here? Something work-related? He doubts it as much as he wished it to be true upon seeing the bags under the younger's eyes. But from what he heard, Daichi became a very good police officer. He wouldn't be this affected if it was just a case. No. He sighed and Bokuto motioned for him to take a seat beside him. Toru, he got hurt. Fell on his head, as it seems. You're kidding. He frowned. No, I wish. Oh, sorry. I'm just... Kenma's in here too. I'm sorry. Not like it's your fault. The silver-haired gave him a weak smile. What happened? Head injury. I see. They both sat in silence for a second. You don't think he did one of his stupid challenges again, do you? Huh? No, that was like 2 days ago. What? The prank, the fainting, that's what you're talking about, right? Daichi just stared at him incredulously. Then, suddenly, a small laugh escaped his throat, but the way it sounded, humorless and somehow sad, caused Bokuto to shiver. So he did, and he pulled others into his mess as well. I'm sorry. What? No, Akashi was the one to participate, not Kenma. Oikawa had nothing to do with Kenma's injury. Thank God. But wasn't the prank already a while ago? Bokuto, he's been here for 2 days and... What? He stared at him shocked. He hasn't woken up yet. Shock turned to horror and a sour taste seemed to linger in his mouth. I'm so sorry. Not like it's your fault. They looked at each other and a small but genuine smile spread on their faces. So, Sugawara and Iwaizumi are still in there. I left to get a snack, or rather to breathe. The air in there feels so heavy, I don't know how to describe it. Bokuto nodded, understanding. Won't they get worried if you don't return soon? No, they know that I needed a break. You should have seen him. Like one of the damn crime scenes I see every day. I couldn't even... Suddenly the door Daichi came from a few minutes ago swung open and revealed a very stressed and very tired looking Iwaizumi. For a split second, Bokuto assumed he was searching for Daichi, but the spiker didn't even acknowledge them and just ran straight up to the closest nurse. Bokuto had never seen him so disoriented, exhausted. Daichi immediately jumped to his feet. Hajime, what's wrong? His tone was desperate and pleading, almost the opposite of Iwaizumi's. He has woken up. Toro is awake. Bokuto, I have to... I know. Go. Aikawa needs you. Iwaizumi turned around confused, only now recognizing Fukurodani's former ace. Good luck for Kenma. I hope he gets better soon. The other looked like he wanted to ask, but decided against it and followed his boyfriend in the room, a nurse and a doctor following closely behind, leaving Bokuto alone in the hallway again. After a while, loneliness and urge for answers became too much. He got up and slowly approached Kenma's door. He knew what he would find behind it. That Kuro or Akashi would have stormed out already, like Iwaizumi just did if Kenma had woken up, but still. He couldn't stop himself from thinking, from imagining how he would enter the room and see all 3 of his boyfriends smiling at him. Kenma would be awake and much better and everything would be fine. As soon as he opened the door, reality crashed onto him, and the constant beeping reminded him of the truth ahead of him. Kaoru? Hey. Akashi sat on Kenma's left side and held onto his hand. He looked tired, his face was pale, which created a stark contrast to the dark bags underneath his eyes. None of them slept last night. Hey, is he any better? He knew the answer, could see it with his own eyes, but he had to ask. No, not really. But he isn't any worse either, and the nurse said that he just needed time. He gulped. Slowly, Bokuto walked over to Akashi's side and put an arm around the former setter. Immediately, Akashi leaned into the touch, never letting go of Kenma's hand, which was still wrapped in bandages. He offered Koro to join them, which he did. The younger hugged Bokuto's side. His hand grabbed his shirt and he held onto it tightly. In the middle of all of this, Bokuto tried to stay strong, to offer the support he knew his boyfriends needed right now. They always supported him, whenever he was at his lowest, when he was insecure, sad, or frustrated, when he was hurt, or when he was afraid. If someone would have asked them beforehand, or anyone who knew them for that matter, they would all assume that Bokuto would be the most affected, or rather, most expressive in this kind of situation. They would assume that it was Koro and Akashi who would have to stay strong for him and build him up over and over again. He would have thought that. He most likely would have freaked out simply thinking about it. But now that it was reality, he suddenly found himself in charge. They all offered support in their own ways, of course, but somehow Bokuto had to be the calmest. He called the ambulance and he held the others in his arms. He kept them going. It was just a small, quiet sound, but it had all three of them turning around to face the bed. For a moment they thought they had imagined it. Then, however, Kenma's body suddenly started to move, and after a few more seconds he blinked against the light. Kenma? The word was barely a whisper. Yet Kenma had heard him, his head snapping around. Immediately he flinched in pain. Simultaneously his eyes widened and they could see the panic rising in the golden cat-like eyes. Katsuro, the blinds. Bokuto understood immediately and rushed over to close them. Kenma was very sensitive to any kinds of sensations. Waking up in here must come as a shock to him. Kenma. Akashi was about to pull his hand away to give him some space, assuming based on his actions these past days that the touch was unwelcomed. But Kenma's breathing hitched and turned into sobs as soon as the familiar heat was gone. When he couldn't reach for it, he tried to get up. Anxiety rushed to his system when he felt the needles in his arm. Immediately he tried to get away from the sensation, not lucid enough to realize that that was impossible. The beeping of the monitor got faster and it felt like it was getting louder. Hey, Kenma! Kuro rushed to his other side and held him by the shoulders to keep him still and avoid further injuries. He expected the smaller to flinch away from his touch, but instead he reached with the other hand for Kuro and almost ripped the cables off if it wasn't for Akashi. The Ravenet took Kenma's hand and pulled him closer. Together, he and Kuro hugged him from both sides while Bokuto took his right hand and pressed it firmly to ground him. It's okay. It's okay. Breathe with me, okay? Kenma nodded frantically. Breathe in and out. In and out. Slowly but surely his breathing calmed, and the beeping got slower and less frantic again. That's good. You're doing so great. Kuro continued to whisper hushed words to Kenma, while the other two just held on to him until he finally relaxed in their arms. Should I go get a nurse? No. Please stay. I'll be back in a minute. Please. Silent sobs shook the fragile body and he looked at Akashi pleadingly. I missed you. I don't want to go back yet. Okay. Please. Please. I'll stay. We all will. We are all here, Ken. He gave the blonde a warm smile and emphasized his words by pressing his hand slightly. I'm sorry. Shh, kitten, enough of that. We have time for apologies and talking later. Concentrate on getting better first. No, I lied. I said I'm fine, but I'm not. I'm so sorry. Hey, it's alright. We know that. And it's okay. We'll figure it out together. No, you don't understand. His words were still interrupted by hiccups and sobs. And we don't have to right now. We'll talk about everything when you get better and... I did it. Kenma looked down at the blanket while tears slowly ran down his cheeks and fell onto the fabric. My wrist. I did it. A heavy silence filled the room. They needed to say something. They needed to reassure him, but the words were stuck in their throats. It was as if part of their words shattered in front of their eyes, as if they could hear it break. Kenma? Bokuto didn't know what to say. He was never good with words, but with actions. In a matter of seconds, he had the young girl wrapped in a tight embrace, holding him until the sobs died down to sniffles. We got you. We are here, and we got you. Oh, as I see, Kazumi-san is finally awake. All but Kenma, who still had his head buried in Bokuto's neck, turned around to face the nurse. I'm sorry to intrude like this, but the monitor showed some concerning data in the past minute, so I came to check on him. Kuro and Akashi nodded. He is very sensitive to sensations and had a panic attack when he first woke up, but we managed to calm him a little. Can you check the equipment though? Something might have... Oh, of course, that's what I'm here for. He walked up to the bed while Bokuto stepped aside so that the nurse could reach Kenma, which was commented by the injured with a whimper. Hello, Kazumi-san. Kenma. The blonde corrected him quickly but didn't meet his eyes. Okay, Kenma. It's nice to finally meet you. I'm one of the nurses on this station. My name is Ito Akira, but you can call me Ito if you want. He nodded. If you look to your right, you'll find a button. You can press it whenever you need help with something. His voice was calm and soothing. Not once did he get impatient or annoyed because Kenma avoided eye contact and was overall not very responsive. For now, I want to check the infusion in your arm and the monitor attached to your chest. Is that okay? Kenma looked up surprised and threw unsure glances at his boyfriends. They nodded reassuringly and Kenma mirrored their actions. Okay, would it make it easier if one of them would hold your hand? Again he nodded and a faint blush warmed his cheeks. Alright. The nurse waited patiently until Bokuto, who was still closest to Kenma, took his hand. He showed him how to hold it so that he could simultaneously check the infusion, He always made sure to announce and explain every step before he did it, and waited when he felt the blonde hesitate. Everything looks just fine. I have to remind you to be aware of it in the future, but I'm sure you'll be. However, there's one more thing. You can't overexhaust yourself like that yet, and should rest a bit more. I'll have to give you something to sleep for a bit longer. But I'll give you 5 more minutes. I know you three have been waiting for this for a long time, and I'm sure you keep the excitement at a responsible level. They nodded seriously and watched the nurse leave the room once more. What did he mean by long? Not now, kitten. We can discuss everything when you get better. Let's just enjoy that you're awake for the time being. They did. They hugged and exchanged soft kisses before the nurse returned and an almost familiar darkness took Kenma with it.
It was in the hospital when we first met.
Hi, guys and girls, and well, everybody else, I guess. The blonde shifted a little uneasy in front of the camera, obviously not 100% comfortable with the situation. It was a rare sight, since this was his channel, his video, the thing he did for a living, and the thing he felt most comfortable doing usually, except maybe for cuddling with his boyfriends or playing video games by himself. But today was a little different. This wasn't a video about him gaming or even talking about games. It wasn't like any of the videos and streams he published before. As most of you have noticed, I have been a little absent lately. I wasn't feeling well. Truth is, I actually had to spend a little bit of time in the hospital to recover. He took a deep breath to steady himself. It was an accident in the midst of unfortunate circumstances. But he shifted his gaze to look directly at the camera. I wanted to use that chance to speak about some more serious topics, as well as introducing someone very special to me at the end. A small smile spread on his face at his own announcement. They are the most important people to me, and I couldn't have done any of this without them. He felt his face warming up, but instead of giving in to the urge of hiding his blush behind the long strands of hair, he held his head high and stared proudly into the camera. However, let's start with the serious part. I'm grateful for everyone who expressed their support during or after my last live stream, but no matter if you did or didn't, let me get one thing clear. Just because I'm a public person and I share part of my life with you, doesn't mean that you are entitled to know about the parts I'm not sharing. It doesn't matter that your views or anything ends up being the reason I get paid. If you're here for my personal life, especially my personal life that I'm not willing to share, please leave. If this seems harsh to you, please leave. These are the boundaries I decided on, and these boundaries are mine alone to decide, not yours. He sighed and took a moment to collect himself. I created my channel to share my passions for everyone interested, and if that's the case, please stay. I like reading your comments and seeing your support in the chat. I never thought that so many people are interested in what I have to say, and yes, sometimes it scares me. Which is why I don't put everything I think or every part of my life on the internet for everyone to see. And I'm sure that most of you can understand it. Kenma subconsciously started burying himself a little in the oversized hoodie he was wearing and fumbled with the seams of the sleeves. I still want to share a little bit of what has been bugging me these past months because I think it's important. He avoided looking directly at the camera. I struggled with my mental health recently. Kenma kept silent for a moment. He wished he could claim that it was on purpose to let the statement sink in, but that would be a lie. These struggles can feel different for anyone, and there are a lot of different disorders and symptoms caused by a variety of different reasons. Not every treatment will help everyone with one disorder equally, and so much can actually be harmful for one while helping another. But there are two things I think most of these have in common. First, realizing that you need help and asking for help is crucial for the recovery process, regardless of what the help will look like in the end. And second, the first thing is incredibly hard to do. He fell silent once again, focused on the patterns of the fabric. We need to realize that mental health and physical health are equally as valuable, and that a sickness, mentally or not, is always serious. It took me a very long time to accept the help and realize what the actual problem was. If you're struggling, I hope you'll figure it out sooner, and that maybe I could at least help you a bit. His eyes shifted towards the door, where he could practically hear Bokuto waiting for his cue to come in. I got better because I have 3 amazing partners helping me through it. Slowly his eyes shifted back to the camera. Let me tell you, they put up with a lot of BS on my part, and still somehow love me. A smile spread on Kenma's face as he visibly relaxed, talking about a much more comfortable topic. They are the most important part of my life. And while I don't want to share my whole life with the internet, I want to share my whole life with them. Which is why, after talking about it for honestly what felt like ever, we agreed that it was time that you meet them as well. A knock echoed through the room. Can we come in now? Kenma chuckled. Yes, Ko, you can. He didn't get to finish the sentence as he was tackled by a way too tall and muscular Bokuto. Akashi and Koro following closely behind. Keiji seemed nervous, while the latter just smirked at the camera and put an arm around Kenma, who is now sitting halfway in Bokuto's lap. We love you, Ken. Yes, we do. Kenma's blush increased to a dark crimson, and he hid his face behind his hair. Anyways, these are my boyfriends, Akashi, Bokuto, and Koro. Hi. Hey! What's up? Akashi only threw a swift glance at the camera. Bokuto grinned brightly, his arms still around Kenma's waist, and Koro still didn't get rid of that stupid, cocky smirk, no matter how much Kenma glared at him. He sighed and basically gave up on trying to tame the chaos. So, those of you who have been around for a while may remember this idiot. He pointed at Koro. Hey! He used to interrupt my streams quite frequently when I just started. Koro grumbled something incoherent under his breath, which earned him another warning look from Kenma. And some of you might recognize Bokuto. I mentioned him before as a member of my favorite volleyball team, MSBY Black Jackal. Now you know why they are my favorite team.
Yes, we are the best.
The others chuckled, and Kuro looked like he wanted to give another snide remark, but Kenma interrupted him in time. Kashi is probably the least public person from us, and here I always thought that would be me later. Kuro laughed loudly, which startled the blonde a little. But his surprised expression quickly turned into a fond smile. They are my boyfriends, and I love them very much. I couldn't imagine life without a single one of them. The others fell silent at the sudden declaration of love. All three of them looked at the younger in awe. Kitten? That was so cute! We love you too! Bokuto nodded eagerly and tightened his hug, while Akashi just stared at the scene with utter affection in his eyes. If possible, Kenma's blush got even darker, and he was quick to wrap things up. Okay, that was it for today. If you have any decent questions, comment them below and we might do a Q&A in the future. Hope to see you soon. Bye. It was late in the evening and Kenma was still working on editing the video so that he could upload it tomorrow. He had been working on it for the past hours, still a bit uncertain about the whole project, but determined to finish it. You sure you don't want to keep that part in? Kuro appeared behind him. He was referring to the ungraceful landing of Kenma and Bokuto after the taller had tackled him into the sofa. Kenma feigned an annoyed sigh and cut it out nonetheless. I'm almost finished. You can go ahead. I'll be there in 10 minutes. His eyes stayed fixated on the screen, but he still noticed the other moving closer. I'm proud of you, Kenma. Kenma faltered and slowly put down his headset. He looked at Kuro with wide eyes. Kuro returned his gaze with such honest and undisguised affection that it made Kenma's heart melt. His heartbeat accelerated and he felt warmth rising in his cheeks. The youngest stayed speechless, while Kuro leaned down and pressed a tender kiss first on his forehead and then on his nose. See you in 10 minutes, kitten. With a last peck on his cheek, he left the room, leaving a very flustered Kenma behind. Kenma stood by his word and followed Kuro 10 minutes later. He climbed into bed as silently as possible. Carefully, he made his way towards the center of the bed, next to Kichi, and was immediately pulled into Bokuto's strong arms. Today, everyone had moved a little closer together than usual, and he loved it.
Thank you for watching. Let me tell you again what an incredible journey that was. Just going in there, editing it, and revisiting what I did and how I do things differently now was a lot of fun. It was very fascinating, and I just noticed how much the channel has grown ever since. Like, even the last video of it is far from how I do things today, and we are so many more people. It's very hard to put into words. I'm super grateful for all of you and for everyone who accompanied my journey until this point, and for, of course, also for everyone who will continue with me on this channel. Thank you all so much. This was hell of a year and I loved it. I hope there is way more to come.